Hello everybody, welcome back to the Platinum Trophy Show Remastered. This is our weekly PlayStation news show. We go over all the latest news from PlayStation this week. We break it all down for you. We take a look at all the new release games that are coming out on the PlayStation Store, and then we go and take a look at some of the newest trophies that have popped up on PSN Profiles. I know this show's been absent for a couple of months now on the channel. I've got good reason for it, but let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're a new viewer of the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It will allow you to stay up to date with all the latest PlayStation news on the channel, and it helps me out enormously as well. Now, the Platinum Trophy Show is something that has been absent on the channel for a couple of months now, and it's really been a number of things. Basically, the news has been really poor over December, unfortunately. It kind of always is a slow news month, so it kind of didn't feel right to me to do that. And I've been recording videos probably about 2 or 3 weeks in advance that I've been uploading on the channel. So this is actually the first video I've had to record in 2021. So happy New Year, everybody. I'm also recording this on a new camera, so maybe you can see a difference in how this all looks, and hopefully it looks and sounds a lot better than my previous videos. I don't know, fingers crossed. Now, the way this is gonna work is every Friday we release this show. We focus first of all on the latest news articles that have popped up this week. Then we go over and look at all the new games that have popped up on the PlayStation Store, and we have a bit of a chat about those. Then the final thing, we go and have a look at the latest trophies on PSN Profiles, and we kind of break down some of the stuff over there. Let's start with today's top story, or first story, definitely not top story, is that SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated has sold over 1 million units. Now, 1 million units it's a sales milestone for sure, but you know, normally I'd say most games pass 1 million units much sooner than this game. This game came out in July last year, remember? The article here on PlayStation Trophies.org says, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, last year's remake, fan favorite, Naughties platformer has passed 1 million sales, THQ has announced. It was a fantastic success for us with sales of more than 1 million units, and I wouldn't be surprised if it reached 2 million one day. I think there's a market for these kind of games, and the community was so full of joy. Now, I agree. I think this is a really interesting story because of a couple of things. Firstly, there's a really basic AA game that's remastered from, like they said here, the Naughties, and it did well. It did well, and I think it came out at a good time when there wasn't a lot of content coming out, and it came out being a light, simple game that older gamers like me could enjoy because we played the original, and younger gamers who maybe just fans of SpongeBob could play and enjoy because they enjoy SpongeBob and they're fans of SpongeBob. It's cool though, because it means that we might see more of this type of stuff. I always go on about mascot platformers being one of my favorite genres, and they absolutely are. I love them so much. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Ape Escape, Sly, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet. These games here had this massive resurgence around the same time as SpongeBob did, and then disappeared, and we haven't seen them for a long time because mass multiplayer games, Battle Royale, first person, all this stuff kind of took over. I think it's cool that a game like this has succeeded because it means that companies may be willing to take more risks on these kind of IPs, not only remastering games like this that, you know, are potentially quite beloved, but also maybe taking risks on other games that are in a similar type of genre as well. So I think it's really cool. I don't know, did you guys play this one? Let me know what you thought of this game, if you played it, or if you care at all about this news. Look, it's a nothing story, but the potential is there. I think THQ are taking the most risks as well out of all the main publishers. Being that AA space allows them to do that. But you know, Destroy All Humans and SpongeBob both, I would say, probably sold relatively weak if you compare them to a lot of other AAA games. So seeing something like this, I think, is a neat sort of conclusion, I guess, to that sort of saga of those AA games coming out in 2020. Next up, we have this sort of rumor that's popping up at the moment, and I don't want this to become a whinging session about Cyberpunk or anything in the comments, but Cyberpunk developer CD Projekt Red has rumors of major departures and cut content. So if any of you guys have played Cyberpunk, I think it's pretty apparent at this point that there was content cut from the final game. They couldn't get it done in time. They couldn't finish it. The game obviously came out half-baked. There was refunds given and everything. And it just wasn't the game that we were promised for all these years. I don't know why it ended up that way. But it's interesting now that there's more and more rumors popping up about there being significant amounts of cut content because they couldn't get it working in time, didn't fit into the schedule. Who knows if we'll ever see that again. It's kind of sad to see, though. It really means that they just released this thing full well knowing they didn't have everything in there that it needed to. And then the other thing is major departures from the studio, so people obviously leaving the studio over everything that's happened here. I imagine it's tough for them because they made a mistake releasing this game and they knew what they were doing when they did that. There's no getting around that. They played a game with their audience, being us, and tricked us into purchasing a game that clearly wasn't finished or ready for consumers to play yet. So there's a justification, I think, from our side to be upset with them and to be annoyed and complain to them. But I imagine they got a ton of hate. I know how these internet things happen and how much hate can be spread on the internet. I imagine the developers of this probably got bombarded, and that sort of sucks, I think, because it means that there was probably a very negative experience, I would say, with their community off the back of this. And look, maybe rightfully so, but knowing the internet, it probably got pushed too far. So only time will tell on what happens next, whether or not we ever see the cut content, whether or not the game ever gets to a point where it's satisfactory or even close to the Witcher 3 standards. And then what happens next? I think that's probably more the interesting part of this to me, and that's, what does CD Projekt Red do now? Because I'm sitting here thinking, was Witcher 3 an anomaly? Was that sort of, they fluked getting that game perfect, and Cyberpunk is just, yeah? Because it's kind of an average game when you break everything down in there too. So I do really question what it was, or what it is about them and what they do next. Are they just destined to make average games, or do they have that it factor that we kind of all thought they had, and they can bounce back from this with their next title potentially? We're probably not going to know the answer to that for a couple of years' time until they do release another game, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens to these guys next after everything that's happened with this game. I know we've probably talked about Cyberpunk a few times. I have another video on the channel about Cyberpunk, so you can go check that out as well. But curious to get everyone's thoughts on the whole Cyberpunk situation, if you have any additional opinions to add. Obviously without getting too hateful. I know we're all annoyed about them, but you know, let's try and keep it pretty tame in the comment section if we can. By the way, I don't mention this enough, but I also stream on Twitch multiple times a week. I currently stream on Twitch twice a week. We stream games over there on a Wednesday and on a Friday. Link down here and link in the description down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys came over to Twitch and followed me over there and came and checked out one of the streams. It'd be really good. Next story is about Crytek. Crytek appears to be staffing up for a AAA sandbox first-person shooter. Mouthful of words there. Crytek obviously scaling up for a new game. Crysis and Hunt Showdown developer Crytek seemingly staffing up for an unannounced AAA project, as the German studio is seeking to hire a game designer with a deep passion for FPS sandbox games. I guess it's not too far out of the warehouse for Crytek, with the Crysis games kind of being semi-open world, and then Hunt being completely open world, first person. It's kind of their wheelhouse of what they do. Obviously, you guys know I'm addicted to Hunt Showdown. It's one of my favorite games from the PlayStation 4 generation, so for me, seeing them look at doing this is a big deal. It means maybe we potentially get more stuff from Hunt, or maybe they're working on a sequel for Hunt. We actually don't know yet. So interesting. Only time will tell what this actually means. Do you guys care about Crytek? I know not a ton of people in my audience are massive Hunt fans like I am, but there are probably some Crysis fans out there who maybe enjoyed the old Crysis games or the remaster when it came out in 2020. I don't know. Does this mean much to you guys? Do you care at all? Curious to get your thoughts in the comment section down below. Okay, fans think Bethesda might be hinting at Elder Scrolls 6 setting. Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, let me just, before we even get into this, Elder Scrolls 6 is years away at this point. I just want to make that really clear. We are not going to be seeing this game for a number of years. I mean, even maybe not even this generation. Like the end of the generation, perhaps, at best. It's always interesting when these rumors about Elder Scrolls start swirling. It's such a popular franchise and it has such a rabid fan base, in a good way, that yeah, when the story like this pops up, people get really excited. Get ready to put on your tinfoil hats, because Elder Scrolls 6 fans think they know when much anticipated RPG will be set, thanks to a New Year's message from the game's official Twitter. Transcribe the past and map from the future. Here's to a happy new year, says the official message. The message obviously has a map of the world of Elder Scrolls in there, with a candle being placed on Skyrim, and one of the candles is placed on a location south of Skyrim, and that's basically what the article says. They think it's going to be located Hammerfall. I don't know, does Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfall? I mean, it kind of sounds like a title. It's no Skyrim, but Skyrim obviously has such cachet with us now that it doesn't sound too weird to say, but that's potentially the location for this. You know, we'll know in 7 to 8 years time, probably, if we're being realistic. It's going to be a while. It's definitely not soon. This is an interesting one. We talked about this last year. Sinking City returning to the PlayStation Store amid legal disputes between Frogwares and Nacon. Frogwares had all their games delisted from the PlayStation Store. I have no idea what the legal battle was, but the publishers started removing their games, and then Frogwares, I think, went back to the drawing board to get the publishing rights back to a lot of their games that they'd produced and developed. Sinking City has now been put back on the PlayStation Store. It's a weird title because I actually really like the Sinking City. I think it's a neat game. Very rough AA detective style game. You guys might remember I talk about them often, the Sherlock Holmes games. It's kind of one of those, mixed a little bit with Murdered Soul Suspect, which was a Square Enix game from the beginning of the PS4 generation. It's kind of an amalgamation of those. It's got these story elements, detective elements, action elements. It's a third-person game. It's actually kind of worth checking out. I would encourage you to have a look at it. But it's weird, all the legal stuff that's gone on with these guys and their games. The article is really just about the legal side of things, so we won't go into that, but it is back on the PlayStation Store if you guys do want to check this game out. And it is kind of worth your time. Some dodgy dealings with the developer here. Who knows what that's going to mean with them for the future. Hopefully that doesn't mean that they're dodgy or anything like that, because I wouldn't want to be recommending a game if they weren't legit. Next up is the Battleborn servers are shutting down. I think we've known this for a while. Battleborn was the, I don't know, what do you call a hero shooter game that came out at the same time as Overwatch did at the beginning of the PS4 era of gaming, and it's now shutting down at the end of January, so the 25th of Jan. I guess if anyone's working on that game from a platinum perspective or whatever, good luck, hopefully you get it finished. I didn't really see much in this when it launched or when it was announced. It was very confusing to me coming out after Borderlands 2, because I liked Gearbox so much off the back of Borderlands 2, it being one of my favorite games to play with friends on the PS3. Then this game was kind of the next thing they announced, and it was quite weird and different, and they never really gave you a decent explanation of what it was or why you should care about it. And I think that was a bit of a weird thing with this game. So anyway, the servers are being shut off for it now at the end of January. Jump on that, or don't jump on it if you're going for the platinum. In fact, probably don't start it now if you haven't, but maybe if you're working on it, something to be aware of. The Last Guardian developer teases next game in New Year's image. Interesting, right? These teasers coming from all these developers at the moment. Now, there's not a huge amount to go off here. Basically, the developer Gen Design here, they're the guys who finished off, they're the ex-Eco guys, essentially. They finished off The Last Guardian. They have tweeted an image saying 2021, and in the image they have shots of each of their games. Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian, and then finally some other unknown image. This is it here. It's in the number 1. It seems to be a dude holding a rock or a tooth or something like that on a beach. I mean, it's a cool image. It looks very, very much like a Team Eco game, or a Gen Design game, if that's what we're calling them these days. The thing that's weird about this to me is not that they've this is a fine way to tease the game. It's what if does this mean that the game's coming out in 2021 because they put it in the 2021 image? That's probably what's more intriguing. It's like, well, what does this actually mean? Does it mean we're getting this thing this year? And if that's the case, Sony potentially have a ton of AAA games coming out in 2021. So it definitely is something to watch out for, I would say. I don't know if these guys still have relevance anymore. I think after Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian was, a bit of a disappointment, if I'm being completely honest. But I mean, it could be something exciting from them. I'm definitely open to seeing what they do, providing they modernize the game style of it and don't leave it in that sort of early 2000s game style that Last Guardian was kind of stuck in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this one. Sony is ending production, or has ended production, of the PlayStation 4 Pro in Japan. This one here, I saw a few people on Twitter worried about this one. It says here, Sony Interactive Entertainment has confirmed that production of the PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 4 Slim models has ended in Japan. The only PS4s that will continue to be manufactured and sold will be the jet black 500 gig PS4 Slim model, meaning that the 1TB models and all the Pros will soon be much harder to find in store shelves in Japan. And the move appears to have been made to allow production and focus on PS5 production, with the next gen console still seeing severe shortages in Japan and worldwide. Now, people were freaking out about this, thinking, does this mean PS4 is done? It doesn't. It just means it's done in Japan, and Japan's a very different audience than it is in the West. Over here in Australia, I know the United States and the UK, PlayStation 4 dominates in a massive way, but in Japan, it just doesn't. Home consoles don't tend to work as well in Japan because the culture around playing games isn't about sitting at home and playing games on your television. It's about playing games on your mobile while you're commuting, maybe playing games on a Switch or a Vita while you're commuting or moving around places, being outside and playing a game. It's not necessarily about sitting at home and playing on a console. Now, there's a lot of obviously PC gaming and a big PC gaming community in Japan as well, but that's a little bit different to console gaming. So people worried about this. It doesn't mean that PS4s are going to be impossible to find in the West. In terms of Pro though, I will say the PlayStation 4 Pro probably will see scaled back supply of that. If not, it completely gone by the end of 2021, I would say, in the West. That's in America, the UK, and Australia as well. Just given the nature of that console now, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense from a consumer's point of view to go out and buy a PS4 Pro instead of a PS5. If you haven't bought into the ecosystem at this point, I would say you're probably looking for the cheapest console available, so a PS4, just a slimline PS4 model, versus the Pro, which is probably for someone who wants more power, and at that point you may as well buy a PS5. So if you are concerned about that, I would suggest going out and making sure you have bought a Pro or whatever it is that you need or want at this point, just to be safe. But in terms of this article here, it's very specific to the Japan market, and the Japan market is very different to the rest of the gaming markets around the world. So I wouldn't be too worried about missing out on getting one today. Okay, and the final story is about the Uncharted movie. Tom Holland is obviously starring as a young Nathan Drake in the new Uncharted movie that was being filmed in late 2021. We're very due, I think, for a trailer for this film at this point. They teased it so much at the Game Awards and they never did it, which was actually really strange. Anyway, Uncharted, the Twitter account has tweeted out this image here showing 4 screenshots. One of sort of this cross on a map here, one of what I can only assume is Tom Holland or Nathan Drake holding the cross, maybe as a key. One here of sort of a old, I don't know, what do you call it, thief, pirates thing, and then a map as well. So these kind of 4 images teasing it. I imagine they're very close to the trailer for this because the movie actually comes out in July, I believe, of 2021. So it's not even that far away. I'm looking forward to this. Honestly, I know these kind of things are generally poorly received, but I'm excited to see what they do with it. They've been putting a ton of work into this thing, obviously with the big actor names next to it, as well as the media attention that it's getting. So I really do hope it's cool. I would love to see a Indiana Jones style game like this get some love in 2021, and maybe Nathan Drake becomes the new Indiana Jones for another generation, which I think is a neat idea. What do you guys think of this specifically? I'd be curious to get your thoughts in the comment section down below. And that's actually our final news story. So what we're going to do now is go on to the new game releases from this week. Firstly, the PlayStation Store January sale is still going until the 19th of January, so you still have about a week and a half, 2 weeks to jump in and get stuff on this. If you're looking for some recommendations for those, I have a bunch of videos on the channel about game sale recommendations from the January sale, so go over and check those out. I have $10 deals, $20, I got everything. So go and check those out. They added apparently about 100 new games onto the sale. I'm not going to be doing a video about those because I think I've done enough videos about the sale, but if you're looking for some stuff to play, go and have a look at those videos. So new games released this week. This is on the US PlayStation Store. So we'll just look at the digital games. Now this is all of the newest stuff, and unfortunately there's not a bunch of new content this week. We'll do this every week anyway, just so that we can get to a good habit of looking at everything new. We have Artists of the World Bundle. What on earth is this? Now I don't want to go through everything. It becomes a bit, oh, it's an Artifacts Mundi game. Okay, so this is a bundle of Artifacts Mundi games. Artifacts Mundi games are point-and-click adventure games from this studio, or publisher I guess, called Artifacts Mundi. They are traditionally very easy platinum games. This looks like it combines like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 or 9 games from them. All in one sort of big bundle on the PlayStation Store. So there's that. You've got your Madden Superstar Edition, PS4 and PS5. You've got your all-in-one bundle. What is this? $49.99. It's absolutely not going to be worth that, but it includes Tools Up, Metamorphosis, and Red Wings. I'm sure it's 3 games you can buy cheaper individually. You got the Bayonetta and Vanquish 10th anniversary bundle for $20. I don't know if that's a good deal or not, but those 2 games rock. They're absolutely worth playing, so there's that. And then Outride 2, which is actually a game that came out at the very end of 2020, Mech League Ultraman Deluxe. I'd actually like to check this game out. I do want to try it. This is made by Modus Games, and it's a big robot fighting game. So if you're into robot fighting games, maybe, I don't know. Reminds me a little bit of City of Monsters from the PS2. Now the rest of the stuff here is all games from 2020. So they're not new games, but given we've not done this for a while, we can kind of flick back a little bit. Blacksmith the Sand Kingdom looks like a visual novel. This game here, Infliction, is a first-person sort of horror game. It says here, Infliction is an interactive nightmare and horrific exploration of the darkness that can lurk within the most normal-looking suburban home. Wonderful remnants of a once happy family reading letters and journalists, listening to voicemails and piecing together clues to understand the terrible events that led you here. Can you live long enough to find atonement? An interesting concept, I suppose, for a horror game. The rest of the stuff here, probably a little bit older and not worth sort of going into. These Christmas Break, oh man, there's so many of these. Christmas Break, Full Bundle, Avatar Bundle. Yeah, there's nothing else really worth mentioning. All right, trophies that have popped up on PSN Profiles. Again, this is just a selection of trophies that I've decided I want to talk about, given we haven't done this in a while. We'll talk about, I think, 4 or 5 different games that have popped up recently on PSN Profiles. The first is the game we just looked at, Infliction, which is a PS5 game. It's sitting at about 60% completion on here. And I've done a bit of research. It does appear to be a pretty easy platinum. You know, you're looking at about a 2 or 3 out of 10 here. It's going to take you a couple of hours to platinum the game. So pretty straightforward plat if you're after this. And I was actually having a look at a bit of stuff about this, and it did get reasonably well received last month on the PlayStation Store when it launched. So, I mean, it could be something that you know you guys might want to check out, especially if you're after an easy platinum or something like that. Mostly gold trophies in here, a couple of bronzes as well. Next up is Override, which is what we just talked about now. No one's got the platinum in this. It's probably not, how many? We've got 20 owners, so it hasn't probably sold particularly well, given that it's only been out a couple of weeks. Probably would have thought it would have done better than that. What are we looking at here in terms of rarity? Let's have a look, because actually no one's earned this, even on PSN. Reach rank S in a league for the first time. Reach elite reputation, maximum club influence. So these are probably online based things. It's it's mech combat, but it is essentially a fighting game when it comes down to it, because it's these big mechs fighting and destroying stuff, like a 3D fighting game, I would say. I mean, you could probably compare it close to like a Dragon Ball fighting game, except it's with mechs. And it's not being labeled as a fighting game, it's being labeled, it is actually genre fighting rather than beat 'em up. Because I was going to say beat 'em up, but yeah, it is more fighting. Yeah, there's a number of trophies that no one's earned yet, so be aware of that if you are going for the platinum in this one. Again, I'm keen to check this out. I would like to... Big Dipper! I called this one out, I don't know what this game is, but it has no platinum. It's got these 6 trophies here, but they're all like 95% completion. Now we have 20 owners. So 95% completion is 19 people have done everything in this game. Again, I don't know what it is, but if you're looking for an easy 100%, this looks like it could probably be that. Meet an unexpected tenant, find something interesting in the attic, meet a surprisingly friendly bear, share a heartwarming moment, witness something magical, and share a wonderful new year. So yeah, this is potentially something that could be worth your time if you're after 100%. I'm personally not going to touch this one, but who knows? Maybe one of you guys will. Last thing I want to talk about from a trophy perspective, there's not actually a ton of trophies that have come out of late that are worth really mentioning. It's that kind of year when not a bunch pops up. It's Abroxia 2. This is actually a game developed by Lilimo, which is owned by partly by Colin Moriarty, who is from Kinda Funny fame, IGN, now Colin's Last Stand. He talks about it on his podcast quite frequently. This is a space shooter style game, so if you're into those, this could be quite cool. I never played the original Abroxia, so I don't know if it's decent or not decent, but I do remember him talking earlier on in the year about how this one was going to have like a full narrative associated with it as well, not just the game, but having like an actual narrative that he wrote behind it. So, you know, if you're into him or any of that sort of stuff, then you might enjoy kind of the writing that goes behind this game here. From a platinum perspective, I would imagine he wrote the trophy list as well. He doesn't like easy platinums, so he's probably made it decently hard. It says here for gold, complete New Game Plus, hold more than 1,000 credits, and successfully hunt all bounties, which doesn't actually seem impossible. The 1,000 credits might be, because it means you probably can't die a bunch. But yeah, that's Abroxia 2, if any of you guys are interested in that. And that's really all there is to it for the Platinum Trophy for this week. This is for the 7th of January. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this slightly new format, the change, and the camera as well. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this episode, and I know it was a little bit weak on everything. There wasn't much stuff happening this week, but I wanted to get into a good routine of doing that. Do you guys still think that this should be a weekly show, or do you think we should change it into a monthly show? I'm kind of contemplating making it a monthly show because it could be much more extravagant, but then all reliable sort of weekly piece of content, which I do like as well. Don't forget, I will be streaming over on YouTube this Saturday, the 9th of January. I'll be streaming. The times for that will be in the description down below, as well as on the community page on the channel. We stream every Saturday over on YouTube with a weekly topic for the Platinum Trophy Online. This week, we'll be looking at my top 5 games of the PlayStation 4 generation, so be sure to be there so you can check that one out. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. And I'll see you guys all in the next video, which will probably be the live stream. So see you guys there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.